I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music. Folks, today we are here to review the new Yeasayer album in 2012, Fragrant World. We have been waiting for this album for a couple years now because Tom and I, very early on in the days of Velocities in Music, I mean, this is now over 2 years ago, probably two and a half years ago, we reviewed Odd Blood, Yeasayer's second album, which came out in 2010. We were super pumped about it. I fell in love with Odd Blood. I gave it like a 94. Like, I just was blown away by it. And I've come back to it a lot since, and you know, it was just so fun and eclectic and really kind of out there, lots of electronic beats and melodies and stuff, and then the vocalist just has this crazy addictive voice, you know, reminiscent of like Michael Jackson-esque pop and things like that, and it was just so catchy and fun, and some of the tracks were just out of this world good, right? So, you know, we were really excited to see Fragrant World come out, you know, as their third album a couple years later, and to see what changes occurred. Tom, what changes did they make in Fragrant World?
They definitely went a little darker.
Oh, for sure.
You know, it's a pretty cliche word. I use it a lot, but I don't know how better to put it. I mean, the material, from the lyrics to the way they're presenting them and the backdrops and everything, it's just, it's a little more pessimistic, especially in the last track, which kind of sums up the message of the whole album. You know, it's just kind of dooming, futuristic look. And it's really cool in that regard to see them you know, get a little more serious, a little more pertinent, but without sacrificing anything that that really makes them Yeasayer, makes them who they are.
Yeah, for sure. And I also felt like the songwriting was just a bit more dense too. They used a lot more, you know, whereas as on Odd Blood, they were focusing a lot on how these electronic melodies could really stand out and be super catchy. They're not focusing on Fragrant World, they're not really focusing on how catchy those electronic melodies are, as more as the composition of how all the different electronic melodies they're using blend together with the beats and the vocals. And I thought that played a much, you know, the songwriting playing a much more dominant role makes this a much more rewarding listen the more time you listen to it. But I gotta say, the first time I put it on, I was a little taken aback. You know, I was like, what are they doing? What are they doing? As is reflected in the scores that this album has received.
That's very true. I was kind of surprised too, because I saw that, and then after listening to it a few times, I thought, man, really what a lot of other reviewers are saying about this does not reflect my opinion at all.
No, totally.
Which you can't entirely expect it to, but I also didn't expect it to be so divergent. I mean, a lot of people are not quite railing on this, but I think it's got like a mid-60s on Metacritic. And, you know, whereas Odd Blood, I think, had an upper 70s or lower 80s somewhere in there. And, I mean, I really feel like these guys, they definitely did move in a different direction, but I like it a lot. And the reason for that is, as you said, once you get all the way through it, you feel like it's a very rewarding listen. Now, I do have to say, as compared to Odd Blood did have a lot of great highlights, individual tracks that jumped out at you and just absolutely killed it, just did a wonderful job. I think that this album, well, I would actually say Henrietta is one of the best songs I've heard all year.
It's an amazing song.
Incredible. It's still... It doesn't get quite to that level. I think that this is much more of a straight-through album listen, and then when you get to the end, at least I reflect on what I've just listened to and think, wow, these guys really have something to say. This really was an album experience, and I really enjoy that. There are some standout tracks, but there also are some weaker tracks.
For sure. And I completely agree with you. And, you know, one thing that I love that they did is that, you know, they come out with Fingers Never Bleed, track 1, and that song just makes an impact. It is super moody, and it just sets the tone for this album perfectly. And I'd say in comparison between the two albums, this album acts much more as an album, focusing, you know, more on the mood and that dense approach to their, you know, songwriting composition. But on top of that, where Odd Blood was made for those, you know, singles, those single tracks really stood out a lot, and it felt more like a compilation. The songs actually kind of work together and play off of each other, and that's a new dynamic that I was really excited to see come from Yeasayer.
Definitely.
Now I gotta say, I would still prefer Odd Blood just because those songs are just so infectious, but this as a straight through listen is great. Now I did feel that some of the tracks were just simply stronger than others.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then the weaker tracks, you know, they were still fine, but I just didn't get as lit up about them. And maybe, and what I find with really dense listens is that the more I listen to it, the more I appreciate some of those tracks I originally thought were weaker. So I'm, you know, even after, you know, the 5-6 listens I've put in on this, I'm really excited to have, you know, the 10th, the 15th listen to see how this transcends into that territory where I can get into those smaller tracks.
And see what more you can uncover.
For sure.
Some things that they slipped in there, because there is a lot going on here. And I mean, In general, you know, at least the first couple listens more than anything, I more tend to just let the songs themselves wash over me, get the big picture, and then I nitpick from there and see what they're doing. And once I got to that kind of nitpicking stage, I noticed that just in the mix, they have so many things going on, so many layers that you don't really notice because they don't jump out at you, but they're still contributing to the sound as a whole.
And these guys are just so, I mean, this hasn't changed amongst all their albums. These guys are just so creative when it comes to just presenting with a really unique sonic idea and then just hitting you with it. And it comes out of nowhere, yet it makes the songs so memorable and so addictive, really. Another thing that hasn't changed is the vocalist. I mean, I thought on Odd Blood he did just a fantastic job. He has that super, super high falsetto voice, but it's so unique. It's attractive. I just want to listen to it. And some people have a hard time with his voice, and I can understand that, but I think that if you like it, it's something that you just more than like you want to keep listening to it. And on top of that, I thought Yeasayer always has interesting lyrics, and I thought that was still present on Fragrant World.
And one thing that I harp on a lot about music that's at least all or mostly electronic based, which I would say this is, I mean, aside from the vocals do carry a lot of weight in situations like that because you don't get that human connection from the samples and the electronics as much. At least I don't. And one thing that I like about Yeasayer, and I've said it also before about Hot Chip, you know, two of my favorite bands that incorporate those electronic elements so successfully, is because the vocalist is able to come in and really make that emotional connection, to set that up for you. You're not entirely relying on the instrumentals, and he really hits it home.
Yeah, they sell it. They totally sell it.
Absolutely.
Tom, what are you thinking on this one?
I'm gonna go 83. Wow. I really dug it.
Yeah, I'm 81. So low 80s for us. That's a great score from us. Obviously, we're higher than average, I think, for music reviewers out there. So if you guys have been kind of dismayed by other music reviews of Yeasayer's Fragrant World, don't take that. Always don't listen to reviewers. Don't listen to us. We're here just trying to share our experiences with you for an entertainment purpose. You guys should check out the music you're interested in, regardless of what reviewers are saying about it. So screw the scores. Just go listen to the music you want to listen to, and then come to us, for entertainment, to get ideas and stuff, maybe for new albums to listen to. So we liked it. Definitely recommend this. Go check it out. Also, please, guys, leave us a comment. www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. That is where we do all of our talking with you guys, and you guys are an integral part of what we do here. Requests, new albums that we're listening to, it all comes from you guys, so thanks for participating. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.